Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Urban Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health conversation and content that's in benefit to your personal development in addition to your well-being. However, in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about how to cultivate emotional intelligence in enhancing your relationships and your well-being, right? So I want to highlight, the role of emotional intelligence in mental health and relationships and provide strategies for us to be able to strengthen our self-awareness, empathy, and our communication skills, right? I think it's big for us to be able to know how to interact with people, as we're, bonding with those emotions and understanding when we walk into a room, how to read the room, and just overall communication to be able to help us have that proper well-being. And as we're, navigating and interacting with different people, right? So let's dive into our introduction in regards to the secret skill that shapes success, right? So did you know that one skill more important than IQ when it comes to happiness and success is actually emotional intelligence, right? So the ability to understand and manage your emotions in yourself and others, right? So the good news is that you can obviously improve, you can grow, and you can navigate as you acquire more information. So I'll be providing some of that today. So stick with me, right? So key point number one, we're going to be diving into emotional intelligence, right? It's recognizing, understanding, and managing emotions, right? So like I said, this is what you're doing for yourself. In addition to able to recognize this, have empathy, and understand that for others as well. So it's important for us to know how humans interact, and have that understanding by, having that self-awareness within yourself. So EI, emotional intelligence, impacts communication, relationships, stress, and our well-being. In regards to research insights, higher emotional intelligence is linked to better mental health, stronger relationships, and greater job performance. So this really boosts the way that we're able to interact. It shapes the way we have that self and that self-awareness for ourselves, and overall, benefits our mental health. So I really want us to take in consideration because this helps us in our life, you feel me? So let's dive into our next segment in regards to what is emotional intelligence and get some more awareness in regards to that, right? So first key point is self-awareness. So emotional intelligence is recognizing your own emotions. It also is tied to self-regulation, so managing impulse and staying calm under pressure. So if someone's trying to trigger you, someone's trying to manipulate you, someone's trying to pull you to jump out of pocket, you're able to have this self-recognition and have that emotional intelligence to know that they're trying to get me flustered up, they're trying to get me pissed off, they're trying to get me out of my element, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. So you're able to know this by having that emotional intelligence. In addition to this, is tied to motivation, so staying driven to by your values, not just by rewards. So you have that emotional intelligence where you're able to know what your value systems are, know what your morals are, know what your do's and your don'ts, right? And you have that motivation behind it. This is also tied to empathy, so understanding other people's feelings. This is really big because humans, it shouldn't take us to our elderly stages, like I always say, to realize that we need social interactions. We need to be having connectivity with others. So, we need to know how to have empathy so we understand how other people feel, so we're able to navigate appropriately. Next, it is also tied to social skills, right? So communicating effectively and building those connections. When it comes to some research insights, we found by Daniel Goleman, 1995, popularized these 5 domains of emotional intelligence, showing that they predict personal and professional success, right? So this can both help us in our life and, like I said, our own personal life, in addition to interacting with other people on a professional environment. So I really want to take that into consideration. Emotional intelligence is important. The next segment, we're going to be talking about why emotional intelligence matters, right? Why is it important, right? So, key point of, low emotional intelligence is miscommunication, conflict, stress, and poor decision making, right? So people that don't have this emotional intelligence, you're going to be thinking irrational, you may be thinking impulsively, you may be mad, flustered in your emotions, and this could lead you into some situations that you don't want to be in based on not having a high emotional intelligence. High emotional intelligence is exactly the opposite, right? So stronger relationships, resilience under stress, leadership growth, right? So you're able to navigate, right? So emotional intelligence supports both mental health and workplace success, right? So I'm really suggesting us to take this in consideration so we're able to benefit ourselves, in addition to how we're able to interact with other people, right? I'm not saying that you got to be on some high school aspect, you got to be like this star athlete, player, whatever it may have been. We're all, we all And I always say this too, is that you don't have to have diamonds to realize that you're what? A diamond. You know what I mean? We all have these great gifts inside of us. We all have these unique abilities and stuff like that too, but what makes us connect is our communication. So the more that we work on our communication, have this awareness, we're able to have those dope interactions and shine all to what? Together, right? So emotional intelligence in regards to some research insight is a stronger predictor of relationship satisfaction than personality traits. So regardless of your personality type is, good in that aspect or poor in that aspect, just emotional intelligence is going to be able to help us, interact with each other and have better, meaningful interactions, right? So I really want us to take that in consideration because it matters, and I don't want us to be having stress, tore up from the floor up, making poor decisions and having poor communications when we can spend more time on our emotional intelligence. So let's dive into our next segment in regards to practical ways to cultivate that emotional intelligence. How can we work on this, right? So number one is going to be practice self-awareness, right? So how can we do that? Is journaling, right? So you want to journal daily about your emotions and your triggers. Really spend time to do the work. You know what I mean? And the more time that you spend, this is going to be able to help your mind, your mental health, and this is a good coping mechanism to cultivate that emotional intelligence. Number two is going to be pause before reacting, right? You really want to have rational thinking. Think before you speak, think before you react, because I don't want you to put yourself in a predicament that you don't want to be in and having that regret, right? So use the name it to tame it, right? Strategy to label your emotions before responding, right? So like I said, once again, think before you speak, think before you react. Number three is going to be build empathy, right? So ask open-ended questions and actively listen, right? So you really want to think about when you're having these interactions with people, is treat people the way that you want to be treated, right? Be respectful, right? Be empathetic. Think about that other person. Put yourself in their shoes, right? So you want to develop this type of mindset because it's going to help you understand people. It's going to help you interact with people better, and it's going to help you, just improve as an overall communicator. So I really want you to build empathy, right? You don't have to be a rich man or poor man to be in that other person's shoes. You know what I mean? But just think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. Close your eyes. You know what I mean? Really get yourself into things. I think this is a really big thing, specifically in our society, because we're lacking humanity. People ain't really being, courteous. People ain't really put yourself in other people's shoes, right? So I really want us to kind of get more into this kind of kindergarten mindset and really kind of just be kind. Next, we're going to be talking about is strengthen communication, right? So use I statements, I feel, instead of you always pointing the fingers, right? So when we're interacting with people is express yourself, advocate, do it in a respectful way, you know what I mean? But like I just said, is use I statements, right? So really kind of describe that emotion. This made me feel uncomfortable and and just, whatever it may be within the circumstance, right? Number five is going to be reflect regularly, right? So notice patterns in how you handle stress, conflict, or joy, right? So think about the things. I really advocate for solitude, spend time alone, get away from the noise. We're always thinking about critiques. We're always thinking about, people telling us what to do. You have society telling us what to do, what's cool, what's lame, what's not. You ain't caught up. You ain't got the newest phone. You ain't have the newest gear, whatever it may be, right? So get away from the noise, get away from distractions, get your mind regulated, right? And what's meaningful to you? Where are you trying to head to? What's your purpose? Where are you going? What behaviors, what attributes are you giving into yourself or society? How are you benefiting your community, right? So think about different things and what's really going on in your pattern, right? Is really good to just having that overall self-awareness by reflective time regularly. In regards to research insights, mindfulness training improves emotional regulation and empathy, enhancing emotional intelligence, right? So the more time you invest into yourself, spend with yourself, right, you're going to be able to reap emotional intelligence, and you're going to be able to it's going to be a different world of improvement for yourself. Next segment I want to dive right into is going to be real life applications. So I really want us to provide examples in regards to how we're able to apply emotional intelligence. So at work, for instance, right? So instead of lashing out under stress, pause, acknowledge that emotion, and communicate calmly. You know what I mean? So someone's giving you too much work. Listen, respectfully, I have a lot on my plate right now. I could do what I could do to the best of my abilities from what's in front of me, what's on my plate, and I can get back to you when this is complete, right? So advocate for yourself, let people know what's going on. I'm a little flustered, I'm a little worked up, I only can do what I can do. Or even one thing that my one of my directors did starting off the day is that, you know, he passed on the diligence, more than the diligence to someone else. He's not feeling it. He needs some time to get it together. So let people know what's going on. The more that you're open, the more that you're, you know, being a little vulnerable, right? And let people know what's going on inside your head. People are able to accommodate. People are able to help you out. So I really advocate for you to, you know, have that respectful type of attitude, right? And think before you respond, and, you know, expressing your emotions, than just lashing out. So really think before we respond. Next is going to be in relationships, right? So listen deeply before responding, show empathy and understanding, right? So like I said, put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? Calm yourself down, you know what I mean? Think rationally and just go with the flow, right? But I really want us to really apply emotional intelligence into these situations. Next is going to be with yourself, right? Some of us are really hard on ourselves. We self-sabotage. I made a video about imposter syndrome. Like, these doubts just come through and don't really allow us to acknowledge our accomplishments and really just, applaud ourselves. We're always thinking about and working so hard and doing so much, right? Just pause, right? So instead of self-criticism, practice self-compassion and curiosity, right? Allow yourself to embrace being a learner. When you fall down, you get back up. You've had a failure. Let's try again. Let's figure out ways we're able to improve. Why are we self-sabotaging and breaking ourselves down? The world's already negative as is. Let's pour positivity into our life, right? Let's love ourselves. We tried our best. You know what I mean? Let's tell ourselves that. So really have that self-compassion, right? So I really want to prompt viewers to think of the last time, your emotions ran high, and how might responding with emotional intelligence have changed that outcome, right? So if you saw yourself in a situation where you was tore from the floor up, you just allow your emotions to take control of you, how can we be able to improve that situation? So I really want you to pause the video if necessary, right? And think how we can be able to improve, you know what I mean? Next, we're going to dive into our next segment in regards to when it's hard to stay emotionally aware, right? So key point I want to dive into is going to be emotional intelligence takes practice, right? So, in order for us to improve or get to that end goal, we're going to need that consistency. We're going to need that effort. We're going to need you to really, do what we need us to do. Keyword us to do. This is our personal development, right? So, it takes time, right? So it's not about being perfect. It's about putting in the effort. Next is going to be stress and fatigue can lower emotional awareness, right? So allow yourself to get the proper sleep. Allow yourself to have your own regimen. Allow yourself to put that self-care first to be able to cultivate that emotional intelligence. Next is going to be growth comes from consistency, not instant change, right? So things don't just happen overnight. You know what I mean? Sometimes a mechanic may need the car overnight to make sure everything's proper, everything's safe for us to, spin the wheel. You know what I mean? Statues and great things, great buildings, great homes weren't built in one night. You know what I mean? So consistency takes time. So allow yourself to have that self-compassion. You're doing the best that you can, and you're putting in that effort. In regards to research insights, emotional intelligence skills can strengthen and can be strengthened through practice and not be fixed traits, right? So we can improve anything when we have consistency and we actively are being intentional about what we're trying to do. So I really want to take in consideration that emotional intelligence is something that we can build. In regards to the power of emotional intelligence, emotional growth, emotional intelligence is not about controlling our emotions. It's about understanding them, right? Like, that's why I said having that journal, really tying into what's going on, how we feeling is essential. The more we practice, the stronger your relationships, your well-being, and the sense of your peace will come. If you find that this video is beneficial, throw a thumbs up, share, comment if necessary, and take it easy. Have a good one.